مرحبا أهلا وسهلا بكم. Today's lesson is going to be about the comparative and the superlative in Arabic. Now, the comparative, as we know, is comparing two things, and we use phrases such as taller than, smaller than, more beautiful than, less beautiful than, and so on. That is comparative. The superlative is when we compare a person or a member of a group with the whole group, such as this girl is the tallest of the class or of the school. That is the superlative. Now, in English, we have separate form for comparative and the superlative, but in Arabic we use the same form, which is the elative. The elative form is used for both comparison or comparative and the superlative, as we will explain shortly. Let's have a look at the comparative pattern first. Now, the first thing we need to note is that the comparative in Arabic is coming from the adjective, and the elative itself is gender neutral. Now let's look at these adjective, for instance. صغير. صغير means small, and that's a masculine. You will say هذا ولد صغير, and صغيرة also means small. That's feminine. هذه بنت صغيرة. This is a small girl. Now, when we come into the elative to compare, we use this pattern. Let's see how we come about this pattern coming from the adjective. Now, you will notice that we've introduced another letter at the beginning before the first root letter. So you have this alif with hamza carrying fatha. Now, the first root letter here is now carrying sukoon, and the second root letter, which is kasra here, is now carrying fatha. Now, we have deleted the ya. The lengthening ya is been removed. Now, also in the feminine, you remove the ta marbuta, because the elative pattern is gender neutral. So it becomes asgharu. Can you note that we are using only single dhamma, because this pattern is what is called, it's one of the diptot, which means you are not allowed to use two fatha on it, or two dhamma on it, or any kasra at all. So that's why we're using single dhamma, which is in this case is the default. So asgharu. The same pattern here. You can see kabirun. So that's kabirun means large or big. Masculine, feminine. Now we come up with the elative pattern here. Form akbaru, such as asgharu. The same exercise. Qasirun, that means short. Qasiratun, aqsaru. Again, the same pattern. Even some of these adjectives with no lengthening ya in them, you see is the same pattern. Sahlun, that means easy. Sahlatun, that's feminine form. Ashalu, the same pattern. Ashalu, easier. So asgharu, smaller. Akbaru, larger or bigger. And aqsaru, shorter. And ashalu, easier. And all of them will be followed by min. Asgharu, min. Smaller than. Akbaru, min. Larger or bigger than. Aqsaru, shorter than. And ashalu, easier than. Now let's come to the section. You will note that I'm using green color here to indicate, to alert you that when you have the second root and the third root of the original word, now we need to do something different. Initially, we will do the same ya. We remove the ya, but you left with the jim, dal, and dal. In the elative form, you combine the second and the third root, and you put shadda on it to indicate that what is happening. So now becomes ajaddu. Now, the first root is not carrying sukoon as we are doing normally here, it's carrying fatha. So that's the second form of the elative form. Here we have af'alu, yani akbaru, asgharu, ajmalu, and so on. But here is ajaddu. Another example for you here, jadidun, by the way, is new. This is a newer than. Now let's look at the qalilun and qalilatun. Qalilun means little, and aqallu becomes fewer, fewer than, fewer than. So qalilun, qalilatun. You note that we have repeated letters there in the second form, in the second root, and the third root of the same letter. That's how you conjugate, not conjugate, how you form your elative once you have the repeated letter in the second and the third root. Okay, there are many words that you can, anytime you see that, you will know this is the pattern. Now, another form where the elative pattern can come from is this alimun, fa'ilun, and that's really is the coming from the that's the active participle fa'ilun. So alimun, alimatun, a'lamu. That means knowledgeable person. Now is more knowledge, more knowledgeable than. So more, and here for instance, sabirun, that's a patient, is a more patient than whoever. Alimun, alimatun, a'lam, the same pattern as asgharu, and sabirun, sabiratun, asbaru. Now let's look at another category of adjectives. Here we have qawiyun. What's different from between this and this lot is the third root letter is ya. So in that case, that ya becomes alf maqsura in the elative form. So we have qawiyun, strong, qawiyatun, strong, as feminine, and then the comparative is aqwa. Now we converted that ya, the third root letter, into now the alf maqsura. Alf maqsura means basically is the shape of the ya, no dots, and is like a lengthening really. Aqwa. Qawiyun, strong. Aqwa, stronger than. Dhakiyun, clever. Dhakiyatun, that's feminine. Azka, clever than. Now here, let's go back to this section. Kabirun, kabiratun, that means big or great. Now akbaru, greater or bigger or larger. Now it's very interesting when people translate Allahu Akbar. Many people would translate it as Allah's greatest, but whereas this is not actually superlative, this is a comparative, should be greater than. And the reason behind that, to what we call lugha maftuha, very open expression really. So when, for instance, the call to prayer to us as Muslim, we hear Allahu Akbar, and Allah is greater than. So no ends there. So that's open. So whatever we may be doing at that time, when we hear the call to prayer, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater than whatever you are doing now. Allah is greater than whatever. So that is a comparative. The more accurate translation of Allahu Akbar should be Allah is greater than, and then you fill the gap. I thought I'll let you consider that. Now, so this is the sample of how you convert the adjective to the elative form in Arabic. The next thing we need to do now is to actually put some sentences up so that we can see it in practice. Now let's use these sentences to illustrate what we have just learned. Number one, هذا البيت أكبر من ذلك البيت. هذا البيت, this house, أكبر من is larger or bigger than ذلك البيت, that house. Next one. هذا الولد أطول من ذلك الولد. هذا الولد, this boy, أطول من is taller than ذلك الولد, that boy. هذه البنت, this girl, هذه البنت أذكى من, this girl is clever or more clever than ذلك الولد, that boy. You will see that even though we are talking about male or female, we are using the same pattern. As already been said, is gender neutral. هذه الحقيبة, this bag, أثقل من is heavier than تلك الحقيبة, that bag. Now let's do a little bit of more analysis here. For instance, if you look at this akbaru, that's it mean akbaru min, bigger than, larger than. Now can you remember the origin of this in terms of adjective? Is coming from kabirun, kabiratun, big, in terms of masculine and feminine, and then we end up with akbar. What about atwalu? That's atwalu min is taller than. So what's the original adjective? Atwalu coming from tawilun. So tawilun, atwalu min. What about adhka? What's the base for that in terms of the adjective? Adhka coming from dhakiyun. So when you have the third root letter, ya, waw, that becomes the alf maqsura in the elative. هذه البنت أذكى من ذلك الولد. هذه الحقيبة أثقل. So what's the adjective where the أثقل is coming from? أثقل من coming from ثقيل. أثقل ثقيل أثقل. So we have كبير أكبر من, طويل أطول من, أذكى ذكي أذكى من, أثقل coming from ثقيل. Now let's use the following sentences to illustrate how to say somebody is older than or younger than somebody else. The first one is Hamza asgharu sinnan min Habib. That's comparative. Hamza is younger than Habib. Let's analyze that. Here, sinnun means age. Sinnun, that's the age. But here we use it in accusative, sinnan. Now, very interestingly, sinnun also means teeth as well as age. That's very telling, actually. I wonder whether there's a link between the two, because usually the scientists can identify somebody's age through their teeth. Who knows? There is a connection there. That's very interesting that in Arabic the word for teeth and the age is the same. Sinnun, asnan, that's teeth. So sin also means age. Right. That's a distraction, really, so never mind. So Hamza asgharu sinnan min Habib. Hamza is younger, that's mean in terms of age, smaller in terms of age than Habib. You will see the sinnan, you can also put it at the end. For instance, here, you can say Hamza asgharu min Habib sinnan. Oh, there's a dot missing there. Let's put dot, that's Habib. Here we go. Habib. So Hamza أصغر من حبيب سنا. So the sinnan can be positioned immediately after the أصغر, the relative form, or at the end is fine. The feminine Fatima أكبر سنا من سلمى. Fatima is a girl, is older than Salma. Because if we don't put sinnan there, if you say we use akbaru min Salma, that can be misconstrued as bigger in terms of body. So we say sinnan to clarify that in terms of age. So Fatima tu akbaru sinnan min Salma. Fatima tu akbaru min Salma sinnan. The only time you are not allowed to separate, to put this way wherever you like, is when you have the idafa. For instance, Hamza huwa asgharu waladin is the youngest boy. That is the possessive. And we know previously when we discussed the possessive construction, we are not allowed to separate between the first noun and the second noun. In this case, you have to put it at the end. Hamza is the youngest boy in the class in terms of age. Let's go back to this one. Hamza asgharu minhu sinnan. If you use pronoun, Hamza is younger than him. Minhu. Hamza asgharu sinnan minhu. Hamza is younger than him. Feminine, Fatima akbaru minha. Fatima is younger than her, whoever that her is. Sinnan in terms of age. Fatima tu akbaru sinnan minha. So that's how you express the idea of, I can say, oh, I am younger than you, I hope. I'm younger than you. You say, Ana asgharu minka sinnan. Ana asgharu minki. I'm talking to a lady, a woman. I will say, Ana asgharu minki sinnan. I can say, Anta akbaru minni. You are older than me. Anti akbaru minni. You are older than me. So that's experiment with these sentences using the comparative form, please. So now we have dealt with the comparative now. The next we need to deal with very briefly is the superlative. Now let's talk about the superlative. And as I've already explained, the superlative form of adjective or adverb is the form that indicates that a person, for instance, has more of a particular quality than anybody else in a group. Let's look at how the superlative is achieved in Arabic. The first line, we have Muhammad huwa atwalu waladin fil fasl. Muhammad is the tallest boy in the class. The same thing you say for feminine. Salma is a girl. Salma hiya atwalu bintin fil fasl. Salma is the tallest girl in the class. You will see we are using the same elative form, which is atwalu. It's the same thing for a boy and it's the same thing for a girl. Next line. You can achieve the same meaning by saying Muhammad huwa atwalul awladi fil fasli. Muhammad is the tallest of the boys in the class. Salma hiya atwalul banati fil fasli. Salma is the tallest of the girls in the class. Or if you have the attached pronoun, you may say Muhammad huwa atwaluhum. Muhammad is the tallest of them, if we know what we mean by them, who are them. That's fine, you can use your attached pronoun. Salma hiya atwaluhunna. Salma is the tallest of them. Now, if you have min before the elative, such as Muhammad huwa min atwalil awladi fil fasli. Muhammad is one of. Once you have this min before the elative form, becomes one of. Muhammad huwa min atwalil awladi fil fasl. Muhammad is one of the tallest boys in the class. Salma hiya min atwalil banati fil fasli. Salma is one of the tallest of the girls in the class. A couple of notes for you here. You remember this is huwa, that's a he or he is. Here is she or she is. But the elative pattern is the same for both boys and girls. What else? Now, very important, you see in the superlative, we are not mentioning men. Unlike the comparative, when you say atwalu min, taller than. But in the superlative, there is no min. Immediately you use it as the mudaf ilayhi or possessive construct. Huwa atwalu waladin. Hiya atwalu bintin. And so on. Here we are. We have now explained very briefly the basic information about the superlative or comparative and the superlative in Arabic. Please go to page 40 and read all this information on page 40 of book 3 and page 41. Do the exercise 15 please, and exercise 16 on page 42. Read page 43 and go through page 44 as well. That is the way to make rapid progress, learning your vocabulary as well as doing your studies. Minimum every day, maybe 15 minutes or so, to make sure you are in touch. Repetition is really important when you are learning language. Repetition is extremely important. So, well done. So if you have any comments, please leave your comments below and distribute or send this link to as many of your contacts as possible so that people can benefit from this class as well. In the meantime, see you next lesson, inshallah. مع السلامة. إلى اللقاء. في أمان الله.